Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, my dear friends and colleagues from the insurance industry. My name is Ariel Rivera, and I am your host of Fun Insurance Solutions. Today, we're going to have a lot of fun because I have with me today a special guest, a very, very special guest, Dr. Billy Williams, who is one of the top leaders of the insurance industry and one of the top consultants of the insurance industry. We're going to talk a little bit about systems, processes, standards, and many other things that I know each and every one of you is going to find a lot of value in that. Now, before we begin, I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsors, Viva Virtual Assistants and Lightspeed Voice. Now, listen up, guys. Remember, if you need remote workers, if you need people to become part of your team to help you with those daily tasks that drive us crazy day in and day out, you got to reach out to Viva Virtual Assistant. Remember to tell them you're part of the Fun family, and they will hook you up and help you build your agency and help you grow. And every agency should have first class phone services. For you to get that, you need to switch to Lightspeed Voice. Remember, Lightspeed Voice is your phone solution for your agency to provide your customer with that first class service. Now, let's go and have some fun. Today we have an awesome episode with one of the most connoisseurs, let's just put it that name, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about him of the insurance industry. I mean, if you want to take out a pen and paper, this is the episode you have to. Bring your pen, bring your paper, take some notes because you're going to be listening to gold. Let's just put it that way. Today I have with me the great Dr. Billy Williams, who is the CEO of the Williams Family Investment Group, a group of more than 160 partner insurance agencies that produce almost $1 billion a year. Yes, you heard right, $1 billion a year in insurance premium. He is also the founder and president of Inspire Nation Business Mentoring Service, which is America's best insurance agent and small business coaching and mentoring company. I've been a student of the Inspire Nation, and I can tell you it will truly inspire you. And the purpose of Fun Insurance Solutions is to help you take your agency and your career to the next level. This is the guy that can also help you do that. Billy he's been the author of 3 books, most of them considered by the experts, many industry experts, to be a must read for all insurance professionals. One of them is how to create an insurance agency business plan. The second one is how to build a $10 million insurance agency in 5 years workbook and process manual. And the third one is Stop Cold Calling, how to make your business a magnet for inbound prospects. I mean, again, you guys are going to listen to gold. Billy, I am honored and humbled to have you on my podcast. Thank you so much for being with me.
Man, I don't know how I can live up to that opening.
Listen, I got to cut
put
you
me
off.
out there.
I got to cut you off 1 second. This is how you're going to live up to that opening. Look at this.
Oh, playing my theme song.
There you go.
That's my song. That's my song. That is my jam. Because that's my mentality. When I walk, no matter what I'm doing, Ariel, I want to win. And I don't, I want to win by being the best, not winning by cheating or winning by taking shortcuts or winning by whatever. But I want to learn those basics. I want to learn the alphabet of winning. See, people don't realize there's a language to winning. Okay. There's a language. So whatever profession you're in, whatever you do, there's a language to it. So as an example, if you're playing football, there are people who excel at football because they understand the basics. They understand more than just, oh, that's a scheme. They understand the blocking, the tackling, the running, the passing. They understand the language of it. And let me just use this as an example. For all of my folks out there that read the Bible. In the Bible, man got really arrogant at one point and was going to build a tower to the heavens, the Tower of Babel, right? They were going to go up and talk to God because they were so arrogant. God didn't rain down fire, brimstone, any of that stuff. All he did was make them speak different languages, and the tower stopped. And that's how it is in business. When your business is not speaking the same language, when everyone in your operation is not speaking the same language, when you don't know the language of success, then you can't move forward. So that's the key to winning, guys, is understanding what is the base language that I need to understand to win. I know I kind of threw it out there, but man, you kind
Amen.
of
I
fired me
love
up
it.
with that song.
I know. That was the whole purpose of it. Because you got fired up and I got fired up. So listen, thank you for that beautiful way to start the episode. And I'm going to ask you a quick question. Now,
Okay.
let's assume it's Friday. You had a beautiful week. All your agency partners did awesome. You want to go home, sit down with your beautiful wife, relax, have a drink. What would be your drink of choice? It could be anything, water, tea.
I only drink water.
Okay,
So
really?
I
Wow.
only drink water. I've never drank alcohol. I've never smoked cigarettes, never smoked weed, never did any of that stuff. I only drink water, no alcohol.
Wow, that's impressive. Do you do any of the seltzer waters like LaCroix or something like that?
I think my wife does. I really don't. I just like regular water
Okay.
for that regard. And I think I know why it is, because when I was growing up, my father was military. We were a
Okay.
military family, and I didn't have candy. I didn't do sweets. I didn't do any of that stuff. So if you've never had it, then you really don't miss it. And
That's
then when
true.
I was in the military, it was really crazy. When I went in the Army, I'm retired Army.
Thank you
And
for your service, by the way. Thank you
thank
for
you. I
your
appreciate
service.
that. But while I was in the Army, like the first day I was there, people were like, "Oh, you don't drink? You will. You will." And I think just that threat, I won't say threat, but that challenge made me never drink alcohol while I was in the Army.
Wow. And now you're in the insurance industry, which is even more impressive than in the army.
Oh
Not to
my God.
drink.
Yeah. When we go to the conferences, I don't think a lot of people go to the conferences to learn.
Yes, yes, that's
I think they go for the party.
yep, that's true. It's impressive. So it's definitely something I admire in every human being because, drinking something, whether it's wine or alcohol or whatever it is, related, especially in our industry, like the lawyers and attorneys, they have the
Mhm.
same reputation, let's just put it that way. And then you as well in the military. So that's awesome.
Yep.
All right, Billy, we're going to open a little bit up what it's called in Spanish, El Baúl de los Recuerdos, which means we're
Okay.
going to open your trunk of memories and you're going to pull out and tell each and every one of the thousands of people that listen to my podcast, who is Billy William and how did you get here to be one of the most amazing and respectable guys in the industry across the country?
Okay, well, let's start with where I am and then I'll work back. So we'll
Perfect.
go from there. So what I am is I'm an investor. Okay, I'm an investor. I look for agencies that want to bring on a partner, that want to bring on more of a leadership role, that want to bring on people that almost like a board member that can help to guide that agency. So I look for that. And the reason why I started doing that, going back from there, is because I had hit a point in my insurance career where I felt bottlenecked. So when I retired from the Army, I went and I became an Allstate agent. Like most of us, you end up as a captive agent, right? And I took a lot of the processes and tools and mentality and focus that I had learned in the Army, and I applied that to Allstate. And I was pretty successful as an Allstate agent. I was Rookie of the Year, like Agent of the Year, all that, won trips, won awards, won everything. But what it made me realize was that they were basically controlling my income. And that wasn't a comfortable situation for me.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to control my own income. And so I started 2004, 2008, I sold that agency, went independent, brought on some partners in my independent agency where I was, and then realized that I had an opportunity with other agencies to bring in our processes, our workflows, the different things that we do, and partner with those agencies. So since 2008, right, I've been searching for agencies to invest. There's 7,000 agencies over that time. And I've only been able to crack the code on 160 of them. So while people say, "Oh, wow, you got 100 investments in 160 agencies," but I've literally talked to thousands of agencies to see if I could be an investor in those agencies. And let me tell you why I'm not an investor. One, the agency operations couldn't support an investor because I couldn't tell what the revenue was. I couldn't tell their processes. I couldn't tell you, they couldn't give me any financials. All they knew is that their bills were paid and that their staff was paid, but they couldn't actually tell me anything about the business of running their agency. And I can't invest if I can't understand your financials. So for my agents that are out here listening, guys, you got to get your house in order. Okay. You got to get your house in order, because if someone can't value you, then they can't put a value on you. If someone can't value you, they can't invest in you. And I'm talking banks. I'm not just talking about investors like me. What happens if you need a loan because you want to acquire another agency? If your paperwork is not right, you're not going to get that loan. If your things are not right, you're not going to get that. So anyway, I digress. Let me go back over here.
No. You're good. You're good.
Okay. So let me go back that's kind of where I am. Now let me go back. So what started my personality is my father. My father is my hero. He is the guy that I look up to more than anything in the world. He's passed on now, but he was my hero. My dad was 35 years military. I grew up in a very strict military type environment. Like, I was a tennis player. And on Saturdays, that's gold for tennis players. Like, I get up early in the morning, I go play tennis all day, I come back at night. Well, I couldn't leave the house until my room was inspected, right?
Oh.
Like, my room had to be clean. My bed had to have hospital corners. I mean, everything had to be inspected.
Wow.
Because my dad was like, your house should always be ready for inspection.
Were you born and raised in Texas?
Well, I was born in Michoacan, Mexico, and I know you brought that up for that
purpose. No, you're half Latino. There you go.
Right. My mom is half Mexican. My dad is African American, and I was born in Michoacan, Mexico.
Nice.
By accident, of course. It wasn't deliberate. We happened to be in that area, and I guess my mom went into labor early, and so that's where I was. All right,
awesome.
But since then, I've lived all over the world, obviously. I mean, we came back to Texas because that's where my grandparents were. And when you're military, home is wherever grandma is, right?
Yes.
Or wherever grandpa is. That's where home is. So home for us was Texas. That's where I always went back to. I grew up in all over. I can't say Texas because we constantly moved. We constantly went different places. But Texas was my base. And then coming through there, I wanted to join the military as soon as I turned 17 because, that's what I wanted. But my dad made me go to college. So I went to University of Southern California.
Nice.
And as soon as I graduated, the day I graduated from college, I joined the Army. Okay. The day I graduated.
Wow.
Like, I shipped out the next day after college graduation because that's all I ever wanted to be, was a soldier. And so I stayed in the military for 21 years, loved it. I got out because I was 41 at that time, about to turn 42. And I knew that my window was closing on my skill set, my expertise, things like that. Whatever my second life was going to be, I needed to start that. I had my children. I had a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old. No, I had a 1-year-old. That's what it was. I had a 1-year-old because right after that, we had them back to back. So we had a 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3, 2, 1 going that way. So my 3-year-old at that time was 1 when I first got out. And then we just had 3 kids back to back, right? Back to back. But I was doing this in the insurance world. And at the same time, my wife was going through law school to become a lawyer. So I was starting my agency. She was doing her lawyer thing. We were raising 3 young kids under the age of 4. So we had to be very structured, very organized, right? In my agency, people would come in. I had a little area set up where my kids were like in their little play area.
Yep.
Yeah. And what's so crazy is I think that was actually a marketing scheme because people would come in to talk to the kids and hang out with the kids. And I was the family agent, it wasn't a nuisance. So a lot of you guys, you tell your kids to be quiet in the background when you're on Zoom calls and you make them go in the other room and you do all this other stuff. But what I discovered was, if you're really part of a community, that community, especially our community, the Hispanic community, we support family, right? We support family. So again, getting off on a tangent.
No, I love it.
Guys,
by the way,
don't hide your family.
I'm going to cut you real quick because
go ahead.
I had exactly the same beginning you had because my wife went into law school, and that's when I started. When I was 22, I was going to go into law school. I didn't get accepted, but of course, my wife is a smart one. Everybody knows that. She got accepted into law school, and that's when I started my agency, Ariel Rivera and Asociados, in San Juan, Puerto Rico, when I was 22. So as soon as she was studying in law school, I started the agency, and then years later, when we switched office, we got a bigger office, we were growing. And 2014 is when I had my daughter. and she would literally crawl around. My first investment on my new office was a new carpet because we had a horrible floor on the in the agency because my daughter was now going to come in and start crawling around the agency.
There you go.
So yeah.
There you
Anyway,
go.
sorry to cut you off.
No,
It's
no, you didn't cut
impressive.
me off at all. I mean, I'm just saying agencies, a lot of time we lose focus of what we're there for, especially our community. And I keep saying our community because I do accept this as my community as well. And our story, our message is different. Okay. We act very similar to every other standard agency out there, but we have a very specific niche. We have a very specific mindset. We have a very specific clientele. And a lot of times we have to maneuver that mindset to better serve and better help our people. Because our people will come to us a lot of times and go, I just want the cheapest insurance, right? Whatever's cheapest. Well, we understand as insurance agents, cheap is not necessarily protecting you. If you've got 4 kids and you drive your kids around all the time and you got one vehicle, you need medical coverage or PIP, depending on where you're located, right?
Yep.
You need rental car. So it may be cheaper for you not to have rental car, but you need rental car because you got 4 kids that you're hauling around all the time. And you get, oh, I'll borrow a car from my friend or from my neighbor. No, you won't. They'll tell you that until 2 or 3 days later when they need their car back. Yep. And now you don't have anything. So you save $20, but now you're struggling for no reason. So a lot of times we have to take on that teacher, counselor, psychologist, all of that in order to better protect our community. Right?
I love it.
And so when we get caught up in that numbers game, I call it the denomination you think in. I think you've heard me talk about this before, Ariel. What denomination do you think in? Because if you take on the same denomination that your customers take on, you're probably not going to better serve your customer. So some people think in hundreds. Some people think in thousands. Some people think in millions. I think in millions, right? Getting to the point where I think in billions. Some people still are stuck in hundreds. They're stuck in tens. So you'll see a customer come in, you'll look at their record because you think in a lower denomination and you'll go, he won't buy that. He won't need that. He won't want that. She won't get that. She won't do that. And it has nothing to do with them. It has to do with the denomination you think in. So
That's
you
so
won't
true.
even, right. You won't even present the best option. You won't even talk to them about additional coverage. You won't talk to them about an umbrella. I mean, I'll look at our community. Let's face it, we are a community of entrepreneurs, right? We are entrepreneurs because a lot of times we're not given the opportunity to go out and work at these $150,000, $200,000, $300,000 jobs. So what do? We make our own jobs.
Oh yeah.
Right? We make our own. So now we're making our own jobs and we're depending on our insurance professionals to be part of the team that helps protect us. But my insurance professional is thinking in a lower denomination and saying, oh, he won't buy that. I know our community. They won't spend that money. I know our community. They won't get life insurance. I know our community. They won't do that. And so we don't even present it, right?
Which is the first mistake. Yep.
Right, which is our denomination, not our customer's denomination. So the way we eliminated that, Ariel, is we put agency standards in place. We have minimum recommended coverage standards. So if it's auto, let's say the auto is $250,500 for uninsured, underinsured motorists and liability, right? That's the standard. Everybody in the agency, everyone in that agency that's licensed and everyone that's non-licensed has to be able to recognize it. Even though the non-licensed people can't talk to the customer, they can still recognize on that customer's policy that this customer is not meeting our agency standard. So we put those minimum standards in place for every policy and for every coverage. What that does is that now puts us at a common language. Everyone in the agency is speaking the same language. So I don't have one producer over here that's writing big revenue policies, while I have another producer over here that's writing state minimum, because that's not our agency standard. Our standard is these coverages, and we have very specific things. You have to mention it. You have to explain the consequences possibly in a claim if a customer doesn't take them. And I need written proof that you had the conversation, whether that's an email confirmation that you send out, or whether that's a declined coverage form you have the customer sign. But when I spot check you, I need written proof that you had that conversation. Once I started that, it was around 2010, 2011. Once I started that, our business really started to grow because now we were speaking a common language. So if you guys are taking notes, right, and you need an action step. Your action step is go back to your agency, sit down with your team, and come up with agency standards for every product and every coverage that you have in that agency, and say, guys, we are going to offer every customer these standards. Now, whether that customer accepts it or not, that's not our problem. Our thing is we have to offer it.
And it's all about handling what we can control, which is those standards. In our agency in Puerto Rico, we had 100, 300 for liability, for auto, for personal auto. That was non-negotiable. Every time we would write a contractor in my agencies, I would have a $1 million minimum liability. And people were like, well, that's the norm. Well, it's the norm because that's what the contracts, whenever they're going to be working for, it requires them to have. But if it was for that contractor, they will ask for probably a $100,000 or $300,000 CGL limit. And that to me is unacceptable. Everybody's getting 1 million. And the reason is simple. Number one, the client needs the right coverage. And number two, when he gets a contract, then he's going to come back to us. And then we need to endorse the policy. And then we need to write a lot of certificates. And then you're overworking in an account where basically the profit is going out the window.
Yes.
So that's why your standards are so important. And thank you for sharing that, because that's exactly what people need to do. Set up your standards that you can control. If the client wants it, just like you say, you don't control that. It's all good. But then you got to tie it up those standards. And here's what I want you to chip in with your processes.
Okay.
So I want you to talk a little bit about the processes that you should have at your agency. That now we're going to meet those standards. And now when you bring in those processes, we're going to have everybody speaking the same language, sending the same emails, and we're going to have consistency in the way we do business.
Okay. So we start all of our processes by starting with our non-licensed people first. I know that sounds crazy, but we start with our non-licensed people first because I want everybody speaking the same language. Everybody, licensed, non-licensed, virtual assistants, it doesn't matter. So we start by teaching agency standards. That's our first process. We develop and teach everybody agency standards, right? And let me just throw a quick plug here. If you go out to my website, inspireanation.org, www.inspireanation.org, you'll see on our upcoming events, I actually have a webinar that's out there that's called the 7 tasks unlicensed people can do to generate revenue in an insurance agency. It's free. Yep. Okay. You just got to go ahead and sign up for it, but it's out there on our site. So this is part of those 7. We teach our unlicensed people our standards. Then we teach our unlicensed people how to go into a policy or look at a coverage page if it's on an AMS system or a carrier website and quickly say, these are our standards. This is what the customer has. The customer is not matching our standards. Okay. They're not matching our standards. Then depending on what our non-licensed person is doing, if they're doing an internal policy review, if they're talking about a birthday, if they're looking at our quoted not sold, if they're following up on a quote, whatever, it doesn't matter. Once they identify that, our non-licensed people now create an activity in our agency management system and assign that activity to a licensed sales producer, right? And say, hey, I was looking at this policy. I see that this customer does not match our standards in this area. And we have 3 types of weaknesses that we look for on a policy. This is another note, guys. Right. 3 weaknesses that we look for. We look for no coverage, low coverage, and missing a supporting policy. Okay, those are the 3 weaknesses we look for. So let me give you examples. Let's say our standard is 250, 500 on auto, and you got 100, 300. Well, that's low coverage, meaning you don't have the standard that we want. Let's say our standard is every car has to have rental car coverage, right? But this car doesn't have it. That means that's no coverage. And then let's say the person has auto and home, but they don't have an umbrella. So now they're missing a supporting policy. So all of our non-licensed people are armed because, again, remember, I'm military. So we train everybody from the lowest person to the highest person. We train everybody to be able to fire a weapon, right? Everybody in the Army, everyone in the military fires a weapon. Well, for us, our agency standards are our weapon. And everybody needs to know how to fire that weapon, from the receptionist to the best sales producer we have. Everybody knows. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's a beautiful.
They know to look for those, right? And they know to look for those three weaknesses: no coverage, low coverage, and missing a supporting policy.
That's
so So the reason why our agencies excel revenue-wise is not because I have phenomenal people. It's not because I have, I go out and find the best, most expensive, most of our agencies, the people that are there got 1 or 2 years of experience. They really don't know deep insurance. They didn't grow up in the insurance world, but what they have is they have standards and they have processes. So that's our first process. Teach your non-licensed people your standards. From there are 23 core processes in an agency. Everything from how you market to your new customer onboarding, to your endorsements, to your claims, to your birthday, to your policy reviews, to your cancellation, termination. All of those processes are in the agency. But what you'll find, once I have agency standards, all the other processes are easy. Because what are we doing on a cancellation termination? Let's take that process, cancellation termination. My non-licensed person is going to be the one to get the information from the carriers that say your person is about to terminate or your person is about to cancel. It's my non-licensed person. That non-licensed person is going to go into the person's record, look at the billing history, see what's going on. Then my non-licensed person is going to send out the first email that says there's a problem with your account. Please contact our agency. My non-licensed person is the one that's sending the text message on behalf of the agency that says there's a problem with your account. Please contact the agency. My non-licensed person is the one that's picking up the phone and calling the person saying, hey, I'm calling on behalf of this agency and there's a problem with your account billing wise. I want to call and see if we can go ahead and get that payment or get that taken care of or answer whatever questions you have, because that's not coverage. So that means they can talk to that customer about a billing issue, right? So my non-licensed people are doing all of this. While they're doing their work, that means my licensed people are doing high revenue tasks. They're the ones that are following up on the leads. They're the ones that are following up on customers that are renewing. They're the ones that are doing customer policy reviews. They're doing all of that. So one of the problems that I see, and one of the things we really try to fix, Ariel, is your force. Again, I'm thinking military. Are all of your people trained to protect the battlefield, right? And most agencies don't train all of their people to protect the battlefield. And the battlefield for us is very simple. We have one job: offer the coverage that best protects our customers' quality of life should they ever have to file a claim. Right? That's our job. We can't twist their arm. We can't make them buy it, but we can offer the coverage that best protects our customers' quality of life should they ever have to file a claim. That's our battlefield. And everybody in our agency should support that battlefield.
And I want to add up to that.
Yes.
And this is where it comes, your first terms about thinking in thousands or millions.
Right. What denomination do you think?
What denomination? One of my philosophies for 18 years with my client has been, this is what I recommend for you to buy, because this is what I would buy for myself, whether it's because I'm in the same situation as you are, or whether it is I can put myself in your own shoes, and this is why you should buy it. So when you think about those denominations, do not think or assume for the client. Think for yourself, how would you protect your own family? And listen, if you're selling state minimum limit because that's your thing, it's all good. But you got to understand that at the end of the day, is that the right coverage for the client? Now, that's a whole different conversation. Right. That's a whole different conversation.
And again, because I did deal with, or I do deal with so many no licencia, no problema agencies, that's what I call them. They start to take on the same mindset as the customer.
Yes.
Instead of being the agent they start to think exactly like the customer because that's who they deal with and that's who walks in. Billy, you don't understand. They're just gonna cancel. If we write them a higher limit policy, they're just gonna cancel. And then hell, that's why you charge broker fees.
Yep.
You know
and I
saying?
wish, by the way, I wish every state would allow us. Puerto Rico, you're not allowed to charge broker fees. And in Florida, you're not allowed unless it's an E&S policy. Then you're allowed to charge it. But I wish every state would allow that. It's people, I believe that will give us more respect to our business and the way we handle ourselves. And the way, we protect the clients, because at the end of the day, it's the consumer, the one's going to benefit from all of this. So
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But usually in the non-standard agencies, they will charge a broker fee. The one thing I had to remove, Ariel, was the emotion. That's what was screwing everybody up, is they get all emotionally caught up in this. That's why we put agency standards in place. When you put standards in place, it removes the emotion. So like you said, you offer your customer what you would buy. Well, guess what? Some people think that way, but there are a lot of people who won't think that way because of insecurities, self-doubt, all those things. I mean, now I'm going off on a whole different thing, but let's be honest. A lot of our community, we still have self-doubt about our business acumen. We still have self-doubt about our smarts, about our ability to communicate, about our ability to really compete on the same level as someone else. And a lot of times that's unjustified. It's just our fears.
yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's our fear. It's not that the world is looking at us that way. It's just that we're looking at ourselves that way. So this is why I put standards in place. Standards eliminate emotions. You don't have to think about what to say. You say what the standards are. Standards eliminate you having that bad day, that good day, that great day, because there are days that you talk the right game and there are days you won't talk the right game. Standards eliminate that because it makes everybody talk at the same level. My best producers will go beyond the standards, right? Our standards may be 250, 500, and they'll end up selling $1 million and $1 million.
Nice.
But my weakest producers will never go below the standards. So it gives us it eliminates that Tower of Babel effect where half my agency's growing and half my agency's not growing. It eliminates that even on retention, because even on retention, we're going to sit down and we're going to review your policies, right? And we're going to go from our standards. We're not going to go from what we feel, what we think, what we hope. We're going to go from our standards. And then we go from there.
You just hit the nail on the head, especially for every Puerto Rican, Hispanic, and Latino insurance professional. Emotion is huge for us. And listen, I'm the first one. So everybody who knows me knows I'm a very emotional guy. When I see you, I'm going to give you a big hug. I'd love to spend time with you, with your family. And we bring sometimes all of that emotion into our agency and into our daily processes. Now, what you just said is so important, because actually you helped me a lot by setting better standards. I already had good standards in my agency in Puerto Rico, but when we opened in Florida, I was able to attend one of your webinars when COVID just started, and I set up even stronger, or let's just say stricter standards, because I understood, after working almost 5,000 claims with Hurricane Maria, and then the earthquakes and all that craziness that happened in Puerto Rico for almost 2-3 years in a row, I learned that the emotional part of it could be very strong, and it could actually destroy you. So it even took away my health. So let's just put it that way. So
because you're stressed out over things. There's no stress when you work from standards.
Yes. So
there's no stress.
You guided me, and I love that you're sharing that, especially because, Hispanic and Latinos tend to be more emotional, because those standards will help you eliminate that, like you just said. And I have felt it, and I have seen the difference with my agency in Florida, because my standards are a lot stricter. And that's just perfect. So now I'm living more peacefully, let's just put it that way, in a way, because I feel comfortable that the standards are being met. And if they're not met, then it's not worth doing it. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Bro, now I'm a little different in that I know some agents are like, I will only write this. I'm not of that mindset. My mindset is we offer it. We offer it. And then if the person doesn't take it, they need to sign something that says you offered it and you didn't take it. But if you want state minimum, and my standard's 100, 300, I'm still going to write you state minimum, right? Now, here's why. Because I'd rather you be my customer than someone else's customer.
I agree.
Because if you're my customer, I'm going to keep talking to you. I'm going to keep working with you. I'm going to keep trying to move you up to better take care of your family, better take care of whatever else. If you're someone else's customer, they just got your money, right? They got your money. They don't give a damn about you. They don't care about you. So I'll write those state minimum in our agencies. I'll tell them, you go ahead. Not me. I don't write insurance. So let me just say that I'm not a sitting agent. I don't write insurance anymore. So I don't want to paint that picture like I do. But when I'm sitting down with my agencies and we're having our board meeting or we're having our meeting, our staff meeting, I'll say, write the state minimum. Just make sure that one, we've done our three things. I have to tell you, I have to explain the consequences, and you have to sign something.
Yep.
But go ahead and write that state minimum, because that state minimum may be okay today, but now I can also move you forward. But also, I've seen people, especially again within our community, where people will get a state minimum for their auto, but then get a $5 million umbrella or try to get a $5 million business umbrella for their business.
Yeah.
So sometimes they don't care about their personal lines. They only care about their business. You know what I mean? So they'll spend a boatload of money over here, but they won't spend much money over here. Well, I'm going to miss out on this if I don't at least get this.
Yep, I agree 100%. And we do the same at the agency. So whenever the client asks for a specific quote, I want exactly the same thing I had with my previous agency or whatever. We always send them two quotes. We send them the recommended one, which is our standard, and this is your status quo. This is what you had. However, we recommend this one. But you choose whatever you want to choose. So at the end, that's the part that we don't control. They control it. So at least we have the evidence in email that we made our recommendation in case, hopefully it never happens. But if one day there's an E&O situation, we have that email and that evidence. And of course, having them sign something is even better. But in case they don't want to sign it, at least you have the written proof via email that you sent it. Yes.
Yeah. And a lot of people will not sign it because they don't want to be responsible for their dumbass decision.
For their own.
Right. They don't. They know it's a dumb decision, but they don't want a record of it. Right. They don't want to be able to prove that they made that dumbass decision.
That is so true.
And that's why it's really important that we do send we send DocuSign or eSign. We'll send that, and it'll keep reminding them, you need to sign, you need to sign, you need to sign. And guys, don't buy that crap about, and again, I'm just talking to our community. Don't buy that crap that we don't use email. Don't buy that crap that we don't use text messaging, and that's bull crap. We do. We just don't want to give it to you because we don't want you, messing us up or blowing us up with all this marketing crap. But don't buy that we don't. So go ahead.
By the way, one of the courses I teach CE for, I bring that up, and they say, well, somebody asked me that at a point in time, and I'm like, the answer, it's real simple. Do they have a Facebook page? Oh yeah, they have social media. They have an email. So don't buy that shit. Yeah. And if nothing else, that's one of the things that we talk about too, is using social media to communicate with our customers. So for us, our communication falls under an acronym. I'm an Army guy, so everything has an acronym. It's called PETS, PETS, right? When I'm spot checking a record or spot checking an account, I'm looking for PETS: phone, postal mail, email, text message, and social media, right? I'm looking to make sure that we've got those four methods of communication. So one of the things we do in our drip email for our new customers is we try to get every customer to connect with us either on LinkedIn or connect with us on Facebook, right? Depending on what they use. And so for us, that's part of our onboarding, is getting your social networking or getting your social network connection to our agency. That does two things. One, it allows us to communicate with you whenever we need to, but also, what happens if you leave me? What happens if you walk away from our agency today, right? Guess what? I'm still connected with you on social networking. People cancel their policies. They don't cancel their social networking connections. Oh, yeah.
So now when I do a post or I do an ad or I do a DM, one of our campaigns, we take our non-licensed people and we go, hey, go back to our former prospects, use PETS, and let's communicate with our former prospects and former customers. So we'll phone you, we'll email you, you gave us permission to text message, we'll text message you. Hey, we'd love to have you back. We've got some new things going on in the agency with our coverage and carriers. Give us a call. But we'll also DM you You are a former customer of blank, blank, blank insurance agency. We would love to have you back. You know, here's a video, because video is huge in our community,
Yes.
and we're not using it well, right? You need an introduction video for your agency, something that you can put out on YouTube, put out on Facebook, put out on LinkedIn, put out on Instagram, put out wherever, Pinterest, on, I don't care. Put it wherever that tells about your agency,
Yep.
right? That's your salesperson 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, one of the things I ran into is a lot of people are not creative. So within our mentoring arm, we actually had to create a script for an introduction video because people wouldn't use it. They
Wow.
literally would not use, they couldn't come up with something on their own. So we wrote a 2-page script that's like, look, just read this and make it look like you're not reading it, and just tell about your agency, right? Tell what you do. So I realized that a lot of people on the call or on the podcast might be like, well, I'm not creative. Well, that's why there are people like you.
Yep.
You know, it's just not you and I. I mean, this industry has a lot of people that you can go to for resources. I mean, you and I think, have probably some of the best resources, but right. But they can go to other people for those resources. But this is another reason I really believe in using my non-licensed people. Non-licensed people don't have emotion about this. They're not like, oh, I've been doing this for 15 years and I've seen it. I've seen the insurance industry change 30 times and I've been around for 40 years. And I don't want that emotion. I just want someone that's going to do what I ask him to do.
Yes, I agree
Right?
100%. I agree.
So, and I'm not knocking licensed people. I'm saying let licensed people be the experts. But all that stuff that is not being done because licensed people are getting emotional about it, try to find a way to maneuver some of that to your non-licensed people, because for them, it's just a task. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yep.
not a lifestyle.
And at the end, it all comes down and comes back at retention.
Yes.
Which is, and I tell this all the time. To me, retention, it's the blood that goes through our vein. That's it. As long as you have blood, there's a chance you have a life, okay?
Yeah.
There's a chance you're living. Of course, there's many other factors, but if you lose all your blood, you're going to be dead, right?
Yeah.
So your book of business, your retention, it's what's going to give life to the agency. And when we talk about perpetuation and all these other different topics about extending the life of an agency or having your agency be 100 years old, having your son, your grandson, or whatever, somebody take over, it has to start with you. And it all starts with retention. And it's
Right.
beautiful if you're a second generation. I wish I was a second or third generation. That wasn't me. But if you're a second generation, it's beautiful to talk to those clients who could be your grandparents, but they were your parents' or grandparents' clients.
Yep.
So retention starts with you, and it starts from day one. So it goes
Right.
from the onboarding process, how the client feels, what they're expecting from you. And again, we're not perfect. The only thing perfect in the world is God. That's it. We try to be as perfect as we can,
Right.
but I want you to tell everyone your 2 cents on retention, because I know you're huge on that, and I am as well.
Right.
But you obviously haven't narrowed it down, and you know how to explain it to a perfect way that people will actually listen.
Okay. Well, here's the deal. When I invest in an agency, 80% of what I'm investing in is retention. It's 80% because that's where the wealth is. The wealth is in the retention. So now what we need to understand about retention is that, one, everything that we do affects retention. Everything that we do, from our onboarding, bringing a customer on, because if you bring them on properly, right? If you bring them on with the understanding that we have standards, you're going to sign something if you don't meet our standards. We're going to communicate with you on a regular basis. We're going to make sure that we follow up if there's a claim, if there's an issue, if there's a problem. We set the standards for everything. We want you to write us a review. Do you know that a customer that writes you a review is going to stay with you 3 times longer?
Nice.
Okay. Because it's like a public marriage almost. I can't say you're amazing in the review and then turn around 6 months later and say you suck,
Yes.
right? I can't do it. So a customer that writes you a review is going to stay with you 3 times longer. A customer that sends you a referral is going to stay with you 3 times longer. But that's all part of your onboarding process, right? Another thing is the more policies you have in a household, the longer they're going to stay. That's why everybody gets a mandatory life insurance quote that qualifies for one, right? I say that qualifies for one because there's some people who can't qualify
Of
for
course,
medical
yeah.
reasons, for ID reasons, whatever. They can't qualify for one. But everyone that qualifies that's a new customer automatically gets a life insurance quote. It's not something I'm going to ask you, hey, is it okay? No, you're going to get that quote in the mail. What you do with it, you throw it away, you do whatever. It's our process, right? And we get that done. So now that's part of retention. Retention is not just let me try to find you the cheapest price. In fact, what we've discovered, we have just as much loss in retention when a customer has a rate decrease as we do when a customer has a rate increase. Let me say that again. We have just as much retention loss in an agency when a customer has a rate decrease as we do when they have a rate increase. And the reason why is the customer says, well, if my rate can go down, I probably can get it cheaper somewhere else.
That's true.
Right? So in their mind, you just devalued yourself. And I know we don't control the rates, the carriers do, right? But I get paid off rates, right? That's part of my commission. That's part of everything is I get paid off rates. So while I don't want to gouge a customer, I'm not tripping when rates go up because I know the cost of insurance goes up, the cost of labor, lumber, materials, everything to keep that customer whole goes up. But I also make more money when that rate goes up, right? I lose money when that rate goes down. So for these agencies that are constantly, let me find you a cheaper rate, let me find you a cheaper rate, that is their renewal process, right? Let me reshop you and let me try to find you a cheaper rate. You're driving your revenue down. You're not driving it up, right? And guess what helps to fix that? Agency standards. Because now I'm not worried about, whoever, Susie over here, who's really insecure and doesn't want a customer to get upset. So she's always going to try to find the cheapest rate just to keep that customer happy. Not what's best for the customer, but to keep the customer happy. So I don't have to worry about that anymore because I have agency standards. So when we talk about retention, guys, every step of that process, every step of the onboarding, the endorsement, the claims, the new customer, the birthday, the policy upsell, the cross-sell, all of that, reviews, right? Referrals, all of that increases retention. It's not just let me send you out an email, once a year and offer you an appointment. There's more to it. It's a culture.
It's a culture. There's a lot more. We call it, and we love to call it, the client experience, right?
Yes.
For Florida, we have Dear Insurance Agency. We call it the Dear experience, because you're dear to our heart. That's one of our one-liners. One of my instructors and mentors when I became a CPIA faculty member, it's Dulce Suarez, whom I love very dearly. She's down from Miami, Florida. She showed me from day one, and she's shown thousands of agents across the country, win on price, lose on price. It's that simple.
Yep.
It's that simple. You win on price, you're going to lose on price. It's going to happen eventually, of course. There are exceptions, but if that's the only reason you want to win or you're going to win, that's probably going to be the first reason you're going to lose eventually. So,
absolutely. One of the things that I love, though, is that if you have a culture where you're actually talking, again, we've said the word standard, 500 times in this podcast? But if you're actually talking from a standard, if you're talking from a culture, if you're removing the emotion, if you're doing all that, even if a customer leaves you on price, you're always in the game. Because they'll always want to come back and shop, right? Because they understand that your value, who you are, what you are, whatever. They always understand that. So if I own a Mercedes and I get to the point I can't afford a Mercedes and I have to go down to a Hyundai, in my mind, I still know what a Mercedes is.
Oh, yeah.
What I mean? And when I get a little bit of money, what am I looking for? I'm looking to go back into a Mercedes. I'm not looking to stay in a Hyundai. That's what we want. We want your agency to be the Mercedes of insurance conversations, the Mercedes of insurance processes, the Mercedes of insurance culture, right? So that even if they leave you because they have to go down to a Hyundai, because people have financial problems, they got to go down to a Hyundai, they're always thinking, but that agency is a Mercedes. And when I need great coverage, I got a real job that I need a certificate for, that they want real insurance carriers and they want this, I'm going back to my Mercedes.
Oh, yeah. There you go, guys. You got them. I mean, I can't think of a better way, Billy, to finish this off. I want to be super respectful of the time because you and I can talk about this for probably 100 more hours,
Yes,
which only means that you have to come back again.
absolutely. I would love it.
We're gonna talk many different things. Billy, people want to connect with you. They want to take your webinars. A lot of them are free. People understand
Yes.
Billy gives a lot and shares a lot of knowledge for free. Do you want to share your information so
Yeah,
people can connect
absolutely.
with you?
Just go out to our website, which is inspireanation.org, www.inspireanation.org. And look up, we have a download store. We got some free training, all that stuff out there. You can do that. You'll see on our upcoming events what we have for free webinars and things like that. If you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, just look up Billy R. Williams on LinkedIn. Okay. We have LinkedIn groups. Fix My Insurance Agency is what it's called. Fix My Insurance Agency LinkedIn group. Fix My Insurance Agency Facebook group. Okay, where we put out materials and we interact and we do all those kind of things. And of course, now that's all the free stuff. But if you want that deep, detailed mentoring that we offer, you can look on our site and you can see that we have a mentoring program as well. If you're an agency that is looking to bring on an investor, not a lender, let me explain the difference.
Yeah.
We're not a bank. We're not here to loan you money. Okay. We're here to potentially buy a piece of equity in your business. Okay. So if you're looking for something like that, you feel like I need a board, I need another group of people who can help to take me to that next level, then again, go to inspirenation.org, connect with me. And we're also looking for that. But what's most important to me is that we expand the entire insurance industry. This is my livelihood.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So the better this industry does, the better my livelihood does. That's why I give so much to the industry. It's just like giving to your church. If I want a kingdom build, then I need to pay my tithes. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
If I want a kingdom build, then I need to help spread the message. It's the same thing here. I can't take from this industry without giving back to this industry.
Yep. That's why I encourage everyone to join organizations, whatever you want to join, move around. You got to give back. You got to participate. You got to be active because you know what? Most of us at the end of the day, the insurance industry has given us and is giving us a life we would have never imagined without any other, or any other industry. Okay.
Yep.
And I'm not saying other industries are bad or anything, but I'm saying my life where I travel the world with insurance companies and agencies and wholesalers. Before I was 30, I went around the world 3 times because I won those contests. I earned that because of my hard work. But again, when I'm thinking about going to Europe, when I was going to think about that, probably when I was 50, 55 years old, and I was able to go when I was 28, and then when I was 30 again. And that's what the insurance industry has given us. So, Billy, I appreciate your time, my friend. I look forward to playing a round of golf with you because, I can take 4 hours of that. And then on another episode, I will bring you in the future. Please accept my invitation.
Yes, sir.
We're going to talk a lot about, because I made a joke about this one time, and then I heard you explain it, how you can tell how good of an agency owner or producer you are just by looking at your game of golf.
Yeah. It translates it all.
Oh
you act a certain way on the course, you're going to act that same way in your office. And that's just the way it works.
Oh yeah. Billy, thank you for your time, brother. You have a beautiful day and a happy Easter, by the way.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Same to you and your family.